Welcome back to the Prado Museum. We're here with another session in English on the museum's social media programming, a project that is supported by American Friends of the Prado Museum. We are a nonprofit dedicated to supporting all of the museum's programming and sharing knowledge of this fantastic collection. We do this all the time in collaboration, and we thank you to our donors, the American Friends, and to all of those who support the Prado also in Spain and throughout the world through Amigos del Museo del Prado. Today we're in the beautiful central gallery, main gallery on the first floor with a spectacular view of the collection of Rubens, and with Goya at the end. It's one of the most beautiful places that you can see in Madrid. And today I'd like to point out some interesting ideas and bring us closer to this portrait of the Duke of Lerma by Rubens, Peter Paul Rubens. Now, the Prado has one of the largest and a very excellent collection of paintings by Rubens, and this one has its own particular story. It's the equestrian portrait of the Duke of Lerma. So first of all, I'd like to review a little bit about who is the Duke of Lerma for all of our benefit, because I think we come by and we say, okay, yeah, he was important. We see that he was important, but really put him into context. He was, his name was Francisco Gómez de Sandoval y Rojas. And in my research, I thought it was also interesting that his mother is Isabel de Borja, and so his grandfather on his maternal side is Saint Francis Borgia, which I think is a very, very little known lineage, part of his lineage, because everyone talks about the Sandoval family, that they were an important nobility family from the 1400s in the area of Valladolid. And they had, over centuries, and this is what my research on the Royal Academy of History in Spain about the lineage of his family, they had fallen a little bit from their peak in the few generations before Francisco Gómez de Sandoval, and they were relegated to serving Queen Juana of Castile in Tordesillas, which was kind of out of the circle of power. And so when she died, they were able to move back closer to service of King Philip II. And there he had great aspirations for ascending within the intrigue and court. So his strategy, and this is also interesting at the time, strategy of ideas of government. The kings had ministers. Philip II had and was promoting a council of ministers to help him with the ever-growing and complex nature of the Spanish monarchy and all of its rulings. And Francisco Gómez de Sandoval would like to get into that group, but he was kind of blocked by the counselors that were already there. And so he changed strategies, and this is his success was that he became very friendly and moved into service of the young prince Philip, who would be the next Philip III. So when Philip II dies, he's in the service of Philip III right when he's named king, and he becomes not only this personal, in service of his personal area, his attention to inside the court, and also his travelings. This is in Spanish is called the caballerizo mayor, the person who was in charge of everywhere that the king traveled, and the sumiller de corps, which was attending the king at palace. So he would have access to that inner circle. But he also was named favorite, which I would call the prime minister. And so he was basically ruling hand in hand, ruling Spain along with Philip III. And so he's a very, very important man when he's already from 1598 at the beginning of this reign. 1598 to 1618. And then this painting is really interesting for Rubens' career, is that Rubens, you know, who's one of the great painters, the most sought after, the most successful in the 17th century, here, this is still young Rubens, he's continued his training from the Netherlands, the Low Countries. He's continued his training from there to Italy, where he's in the service of the Duke of Mantua. And the Duke of Mantua has sent Rubens on a diplomatic mission to bring gifts to the new young monarch in Spain. And here he will paint this painting and sign it, Peter Paul Rubens. And this is very rare because he didn't sign afterwards many of his paintings. But here he has traveled to Spain. He's at the court, which is in Valladolid at this time, and he's painting one of the most powerful men in Spain, which is the Duke of Lerma, the prime minister. The other most powerful would be the king, Philip III, which, interestingly enough, there's no equestrian portrait of Philip III, but there is an equestrian bronze statue that was given. So the Duke of Lerma has really bad press in history, as in afterwards, when he will fall from grace in 1618, he will be given the blame of things going wrong. He will be accused of corruption, of speculation, also with real estate, of changing the court, of really benefiting from his insider access to information of what's happening at the court. But at the same time, what I'd like to bring out is what happened during their reign. This is also the time of Philip III. It's called the Pax Hispanica. And so Philip III inherited a very warring situation from his father, Philip II, with open war with England. The United Provinces of the Netherlands had rebelled against them, against the Spanish monarchy, and tensions with France. Well, they would take measures to negotiate further peace with France and even propose a joint marriage between the princes and the princesses, between France and Spain. They would take advantage of the time that Queen Elizabeth of England would die in around 1602 or 1603 and make a new treaty with the new king of England, James VI, and so have peace with England. And they also signed a 9 or 10-year truce with the rebellious United Provinces of the Netherlands, who had rebelled and didn't want to be part of the Spanish monarchy any longer. So it was a time also of movement towards peace, which would have positive or negative effects later on the Spanish monarchy, but it is interesting to have that context when we look at this painting. Rubens is offering the Duke of Lerma an image of grandiose government. He is dressed like a Roman emperor, riding forward on his horse forward to us. There's reminiscence of that he's a general with the armies here in the background, that he's a commanding general, and he's dressed in a very ruling attire with this gorgeous tree that overflows and frames his figure. So it's very grandiose offering. And one other thing I'd like to point out is that Lerma, he would be named Duke of Lerma right when he becomes the prime minister, which is a very important title. In Spain, it gives him, there's this inner circle of the highest level of nobility, and that title would give him that access. But he was a great art collector, and his art collection would rival that of Philip III. And just some of them here in the Prado. He, of course, had the equestrian portrait, but he was also owner of these Apostle series by Rubens. We also have the beautiful The Annunciation by Fra Angelico, one of our favorite paintings here at the Prado, was given to the Duke of Lerma as a gift by Mario Farnesio. And he also had Titian's Salome, and this painting itself was in his own personal collection, then sold with his property to the king Philip III, and it would be Philip IV who would give it as a gift to the Admiral of Castile, who was married to one of his granddaughters. And it was in a private collection for many generations until the 1960s. It was purchased again by the Prado Museum, and at that time incorporated into the Prado's collection. So a very interesting story and historical background for this painting, and I wanted to bring it closer to it because it's a very principal painting here in the main gallery, and so you can find out more about Spanish history, about painting by Rubens, about everything. There's so many layers of interesting things to find out in the Prado Museum's collection. So thank you very much for being with us again today, and we are signing out until we come back again in September.